قُلْ هَذِهِ سَبِيلِي أَدْعُو إِلَى اللَّهِ. This is my path. I call to it. أَدْعُو إِلَى اللَّهِ. I call to Allah. عَلَى بَصِيرَةٍ, with insight. Deep penetrating insight. Seeing through the dababiyah of the age. Dababiyah, it means confusion. It means darkness. It means blindness. It means confusion. It means manipulation. With this light of Islam, you see through the political manipulation, whether to the right or to the left, or whatever spectrum you want to be on. That you see with this light of Iman through the political manipulation, through the Marxism, through the communism, social, whatever names they are, so many different names, have wrought havoc on human beings. Because we lost the connection to virtue and the connection to Allah. So it wreaks havoc. So a man without any virtue, and we can call names if we want to. Derek Chauvin, a man without any, Chauvin I think the name is. Without any virtue whatsoever, bereft of virtue, bereft of any ethical or moral system, at least any ethical moral system that would restrain him from choking a man out with his knee on the street. So understand what this is. This is a crisis in our humanity, a crisis in the human soul. Until we get back to those things that will give life to our hearts, we will suffer as a people. This is the Islamic message. Ad'uhu ila Allah. I call to this message to Allah. I call to this message by way relying upon Allah as well. Ala basira, with insight, seeing things straight, not with any iwaj, not with confusion, not being manipulated. Critically important for us as Muslims. This is how we answer these affairs in these age. This is also how we bring about change. It's also how we join with other groups. We take their hands as well. We walk with them as well. We join any righteous protest. It's righteous though, it's not anarchy. Not just loot. Righteousness, fudul, fada'il, virtue. It's what we call to. The interesting thing is that within the human soul recognizes this virtue, is ready to even submit to this virtue. The human soul loves the virtue because it's by way of these virtues that the human soul gains contentment. It's by way of these virtues that the human soul gains control. It's by way of these virtues that the human soul is able to get rid of racism, to purify the heart from that. These sick things that we see in the age. This is the way forward. We should know this and understand this, memorize it, know it, understand it, call to it. That we study these things. Our religion is knowledge-based. I'm raising my voice now because we shouldn't get caught up into any particular movement going on. We shouldn't get caught up in being manipulated or being caught up into emotions, right? Any which way. So of course, there are people on TV who they call them the Antifa now, the anti-fascists, like extreme. Wallahu alam who these people are. These names don't matter. The point is to say we have a criterion that we judge by as Muslims, and we see through all the different names: anti, left, right, center, moderate, blah. We can continue and go on and on and on. Different names, doesn't matter. Now we have a criterion which we judge by. We say we have a balance by way of this criterion. And if we were holding firm to this criterion, if human beings came back to this criterion, we would clear out all the racism, all the white supremacy, all the systemic racism, the systemic white supremacy. We'd rectify those things. And this is the message by which the human being rectifies his soul. This is the reality of the matter, if we only knew and paid attention to it. No. So this is the short address. Maybe went on a lot longer than I expected, but we wanted to address some of the affairs. Of course, as we mentioned on the group, we do look to support racial justice. We look to support the justice for the family of George Floyd, no doubt about it. But we do that with our own voice. We do that by way of our own religion. We do that with the ethics and the morals of Islam and the higher virtues of Islam, when we express those and call people to it. and we act based on that, and we gauge society based on these virtues, based on these morals. So our point of inspiration is our religion. It is our Prophet Muhammad. It is our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he is the virtuous example. He is the paragon of virtue. And Malcolm X, rahimahullah ta'ala, he's been telling us this for 60 years. That if, and we'll be explicit, if we are a people who think that maybe just shouting in the street and maybe looting, burning, shouting in the street, or that we think communism, socialism, capitalism, ism, we think any other ism is going to bring about the rectification of the human soul, then you're missing the point, you're lost. These different isms and these different movements, if separated from virtue, they won't lead to any good. And the more people are united upon virtue, then the more good will come about. You want to know what we're talking about? Listen to Dr. Martin Luther King. Perfect example. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. He wasn't a Muslim, but he had these virtues and he called to them. Listen to the I Have a Dream speech. Just to be explicit, we know what we're talking about. We're not criticizing the movements for social justice. We're not doing that, no. We're not criticizing anybody who wants the racial justice, but we're saying that we have to call to morals, ethics, virtue, things that our politicians now, unfortunately, are appearing to be bereft of and completely aloof from. Unfortunately, we ask Allah to rectify our affairs. Ameen. So these things, it's quite sad, unfortunate. We ask Allah for salam and afiyah and safety. We ask Allah to rectify our hearts. Ameen. You know, we begin the khutbah, inshallah ta'ala.